Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's November 11th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. You can see on our daily chart, we continued with the rally on the daily. Uh, Prices looked like early on we were going to move sideways to down, but we reversed that before the day was over and traded higher and closed very close to the highs. So, very relatively bullish day before it was over. Again, it didn't start out that way. But the rally and the buying continues as of today. My guess is we're going to rally up here and attempt to make another new high. Probably rally into at least the highs of the envelope band, and maybe this time we'll make it up to the upper trend channel line, the blue line up here. So we'll just have to see. But definitely a bullish day today in the end, and definitely traded up. But let's flip over to that 2000 tick chart. We'll take a look at the trades and how the day set up, and we'll go through those trades and wrap the day up. But let's flip over. Okay, here it is. We really had a couple of legs down. We had this first leg down, then we had a little correction, then we had another leg down. This next one was real choppy, and we didn't quite get a measured move based on the trend channel, but we got a measured move based on the width of the range. You notice these dash lines. That's a measured move on either side of the original range I had set up here. And you can see we turned pretty much to the tick almost, and then we found resistance up here. We actually filled the gap first, and then we kind of chopped around right there at the resistance up here of a measured move before we broke higher. And this was a spike and channel up that's also within this bigger channel here. So you had a couple of different channels to trade there. But real choppy and mixed early on. Not a lot of trades here. And then on this rally, it was just really wasn't much at all that set up on it. So you just kind of had to sit tight and be patient. But there were some nice, easy second entries up here late in the day. Let's zoom in here. But your 7 o'clock came. Let's zoom in here just a little more. Seven o'clock came right in here as we're bouncing. Then you have this failed break lower. And maybe you enter there. You're always better off to wait on the higher low, which comes here. And then that ends up working sideways. And you almost get stopped out of this. This is a good example of why we put our safety stop where we put it. Because if you'd put it anywhere but right one tick below the signal bar like we teach you, you'd have got stopped out on that. But if you put it where it was supposed to be, you don't get stopped out, and then you get another higher low here, and you could have gone long there. Um, by the time that happens, this is looking much more congested, but you can see it creeping up that trend line. So now that you've got at least a 1, 2, 3 quadruple test in there. Here, maybe it's hard to argue. You might have had one here. You could argue. So it's just like a double test there because this one was lower and this one was lower. But now you got multiple tests there. So that one's a little more obvious. So maybe you take it and it runs on up. But yeah, this gets a little congested in there. So I'm not that crazy about it. All three of those are a maybe. I'll give you a green on them, and that's about it. So um, channel working up, and there's been no break. We end up getting a break right there, but you don't know that's going to happen. So I think you have to sit tight. And then this is all just too choppy. I don't like any of it. There's no real setup there. We run back up, and here I think you can count that as a new low, a double bottom, and you get two legs back up. There's actually the second entries below this bar, but it tries to go higher again and fails and turns down. So now you've tested that several times again, and you got a big bearish bar. I like going short on that one, and you should hopefully run back down to the other side, which we do. And I didn't mark this one. It is a second entry right there, and you do get a close outside the new high. It should at least be green because you may want to take that. You're better off to wait on the higher low, and you don't really get a setup there for a higher low. So by the time you could enter would be here, and that bar is right back into the resistance again. So, and you don't know it's going to break out like that. So, but it does. You get a close outside and a new high all in a couple of bars there. You might could argue for that to be green. I think you need the lower high, which is here, and I don't think that qualifies, but excuse me, maybe you enter there, and I just don't think you want to enter here. And then you get a quick second entry short right off the midline. Um, you're moving up, first entry moving up, and a break below that's a second entry short. Normally, I'll tell you, you probably don't want to enter very often in the middle like that, but that's a pretty good trend down that goes straight through without any support. So there's a very good chance you're going to retest these lows. And that's exactly what happens. You end up getting a good move down. I don't see anything that would tempt me to really try to go long here. You hadn't quite moved the measured move yet. So I would sit tight. If you'd have taken that one, it would have worked. There is a higher low here, but you don't have much room back to that swing high, and you got the support resistance here that could hold you back. It does end up pushing higher, and then you get a couple of legs down, but I don't see anything to go long. And I don't think you want to go short there either. This is just kind of, you're expecting prices to retest this high, not go lower there. So I don't think you want to enter there. Runs down. Again, you get this low. You get a higher low here, but not a good enough signal bar. And here you're working back up. I didn't draw this, but it's there. You're working back up. It may be a little flatter than that, maybe more. I think you have to use the close on that one right there, and that fits a little better. And you get what looks like a little bit of an overshoot here, and then a lower high. Notice now you've tested that from underneath a few times. So with this possible overshoot here, I like going short there. It's also a second entry. Notice the new low, first entry, second entry. And now we finally run down and get that measured move all the way to the lower side here. And notice we're working down, close outside, new low. And then we try to go lower one more time. And you get this big bullish bar. Maybe you go long right there. It's a big bar. 15 ticks. I mean, compared to something we've had lately, that's not just the largest bar you've ever seen. But for today, it seems like a relatively large bar. Maybe you take that one. I marked it green. You're better off to wait on a high or low, and I think it's too late there. And this is just too choppy and congested. I don't see anything that I like there. Now, there is a second entry right here, but there's not room to get out. You're not looking to get out for that high. You're looking at this support resistance here. And you can see it held 2 times there. Now, it could push through there anyway, which it does. Pulls back, tries to go higher, and it pulls back one more time and bounces there. So I like that as a higher low and a second entry long, back inside the original range, and look at it go, and then it fails out the upper side. Again, maybe you go short there. I marked it because you do have a close outside and a couple of swings to a new high. And most breakouts are going to fail, but you're better off to wait on the lower high here to be sure. But sometimes when you take that chance, you get paid off. For more risk comes more reward. And you can see you get a big, huge move down. And it bounces down here again, but that's your signal bar. You can't go long on that one. High or low here again, but you're right back into the support resistance and the EMA and all that. It ends up pushing through, but you just don't know that. And you can't go short yet because you're still in this uptrend. And you actually get 2 legs back here, but again, you don't want to go long. this closes below that support resistance line, and this is all just too choppy. It's too hard to know what prices are doing here right in the middle of the range. Uh, it looks like they're trying to work both ways. Now we do confirm this trend line right here, but it's not a good enough setup. So I don't think you want to go long there. Now there is a second entry here, but if you'd had a good signal bar, maybe you go long there on that second entry, but you just don't get it. So I'd continue to sit tight. This is chopping around. Now there's a failed breakout here, but you're still in this channel. It's just a first entry. I don't see anything, and I don't like really going short up here either. So I don't see anything I like right there, and then it takes off again. And once again, there's no setup up through there. You just have to watch it go. And then this is just kind of chopping sideways. And finally, you get two legs back. Technically, by the counts, that is not a second entry. It's a first entry, second entry, third entry, and then you make a new high. And so this is a second entry here, but this technically is a first entry. It definitely looks like two legs back, though. You don't really have any support there that's confirmed, because this trend line, you've just drawn it, and it doesn't get confirmed till over here. So I would sit tight on that one. See if you get a higher low, which you do right here. And that's also a second entry, so you can go long right there. And it also confirms that trend line. So now you've got a reason to go long there, kind of in the middle of nowhere. You got a trend line there. And it runs up and it's chopping around, but then you get two legs back again and another second entry long right off that key entry point. And you might even argue that you got a high or low here. It's got a 2-bar matching low, so you could count that, but it looks a little congested right there. But honestly, if you wanted to take that, I'd at least give you a green on it. Runs up, turns back down. It's just a first entry. And then once again, you get two legs back to the trend line. And it's also both trend lines and a big bullish bar. And this actually breaks lower first and turns up, and that's all bullish. You could actually enter that on the engulfing bar. Most of you should wait for it to close. And so you could go long either way there. And runs up. I don't see any other entries here. Comes back again. This time you get a close outside, and you actually get two legs back again. Now, I marked this a little two-legged correction and another leg down. So technically, that should be the middle of the pattern here, and so this should be another leg down. There we go. And there's your measured move, two legs down. It's not quite a measured move. It's close. But I think you can treat that as a second entry. It's after 230, but it's just like 231. So if you want to go long there, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I give you a green on that. And you could see you could have, you would have got a nice easy scalp, and you probably wouldn't have got any more than that, but you would have got a nice easy scalp out of it. And there it was, and that we just kind of chopped into the close there and closed not far off the highs. So nice bullish move there at the end. Like I said, this market just wants to go higher. It does not want to. It does not want to end that long-term trend. I thought for sure we were going to get an ending to it, or at least a close outside on our trend line, but this market wasn't having it. It closed back inside on Friday, and it has continued to move higher. So anyway, I don't know what's going on with my voice too. I'm starting to lose my voice. I'm feeling a little stuffy here all of a sudden. We had a real cold snap here the last couple of days. Y'all, northern people would probably laugh at us, but for us here in the south, it's pretty chilly. So anyway, there it is for today. I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.